Welcome to the TIMFD podcast. Today is my favorite day is about appreciating every day as it comes, no matter what life throws at us. We hope this podcast speaks to you, and if it does, please like, share, and comment. Now let's find out why today is our favorite day this week.
Well, David, welcome back.
Hey, Sam.
Today is my favorite day.
It is always.
Yep. So we have a discussion today, but Project 2025 and the ACLU.
So the question is that. It's kind of a weird question.
Yep.
Project 2025 and the ACLU. So we have Project 2025 that was brought up in the debates. Now, you and I already knew about it.
Right.
Obviously, it's a 900-page document right around there. It's very long. It is a conservative wish list. I'm talking conservatives, probably like you and I, of wish lists of things we'd love to have a president do.
Yep.
You know, I say we. I don't know everything in it. I've read a lot of it, but it's so big, and some of it went right over my head, honestly. And so, but it is a conservative wish list.
Yeah.
It's from where? Who does this?
The Heritage Foundation. And if you stop and think about the Heritage Foundation, they've been around forever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so every presidential election, at least, and I think a little more often, they come out with a wish list. Well, do you have a wish list for Christmas?
Yes.
So that's what it boils down to, right? How much of the stuff on your wish list do you get?
Yeah.
And
they're hoping that the Republican who wins will take some of it.
Will take some of it.
They're hoping for it.
They're hoping for it. And there are some things that when we as conservative pastors look at it, we agree with.
Yep.
Right? But like you say, it's 918 pages and you're like, I don't have time for this.
Yeah, it's big.
Yeah.
It's big. And so I know that both the Heritage Foundation and the ACLU, they did this kind of compare. They kind of said, what is Project 2025?
Right.
And before, the reason why we're using the ACLU used to be what?
It used to be an organization that did not look at your political leanings.
They were lawyers.
The American Civil Liberties Union, that's what it stands for. And it was, I think, in the 60s is when it was formed.
50s, 60s.
I'd have to go back and look.
Yeah.
But if your civil liberties,
the right to vote,
the right to vote,
speak,
gathering, the right to bear arms, all that kind of stuff were violated, they would stand up for you.
And usually what theirs was on freedom of speech was a big deal
one,
for
especially
them.
in the 60s.
Yes.
And
that's awesome.
Yeah, it is. And I think originally the concept behind the ACLU was amazing. It was amazing. However, both, the Heritage Foundation, yes, they say they're conservative. The ACLU says they do not take any political position, but go in and read the court cases currently. Yeah. And so both of them, you have a conservative group in the Heritage Foundation over here and a left-leaning liberal group in the ACLU.
Yeah, I'm going to read both of their things because they're both kind of comical.
Yep. Yeah, it is when you stop and think about.
The ACLU doesn't endorse or oppose candidates for elected office. But we recognize that the 2024 presidential election has immense implications for the future of democracy. So obviously, we know that they've been a extreme left-leaning and honestly socialist organization for a pretty long time. Yep. And they need to own that socialist mindset, okay, and that liberal mindset. And I think they do. I think they own that.
And before we go any further, talk about a socialist mindset. So that is
government control.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to look at what a socialist is, it is somebody who believes in government control.
Yes.
Pure and simple.
Yes. Yep. And then on the other side, which I want to get to, because there's a lot of stuff we have to go back to read.
Yep.
Just because some of it is just kind of funny when they write it. Project 2025 is not partisan, nor is it a secret. Project 2025 does not speak for any candidate or campaign in any capacity. And that's true. They're not in the Trump camp.
Right.
Just like the ACLU is not in the Harris camp, but they both are.
Yeah.
They both have, they have people in the Heritage Foundation has people that had worked for the Trump campaign, but also worked for other candidates as well. And the ACLU has always been behind, since I have known the 1980s, they have always been behind the liberal or the Democratic candidate. Always.
Right. Always.
I mean, and so to me, I look at both of them, they're legalese, their legalese language, they're telling the truth. They're not in a party. They're not partisan, but they are.
But they are. Yeah.
Partisan.
And if you stop and think, and I'm a little bit older than you,
Yep.
But with the ACLU, when they were fighting for voters' rights back in the 60s, and many of you who listen to us may not have been around to see some of the riots, to see some of the things with Martin Luther King.
And I was too young with all that.
Yeah.
I mean, I was alive, but I just was too young.
But you got Martin Luther King, you got Bobby Kennedy and John Kennedy, who were, all three of them were assassinated, right? And but when the civil rights movement was going forward, there was people from every party going to the area where black communities and getting them registered to vote. With what? With ID.
Yep.
And proper, this is who I am.
Yep.
I'm a U.S. citizen.
I'm a U.S. citizen.
That was the
and
whole
back
thing.
then, they were keeping citizens from voting.
Yes, they were. They were absolutely wrong.
Evil,
absolutely,
as far as
yes,
I'm concerned.
It was. And there were lots of lawsuits. I mean, research it. And
I did. My dad always told me I had no history, so we always had to go back and look at all that stuff. Yeah.
And so you look at that, and they did some good.
Actually, absolutely.
With voting rights and all that kind of stuff. On the other hand, what's happening now? With some of the...
And we will get a little bit in this today, maybe. We're going to kind of focus on certain ones because there's so much to go here.
Way too much, yeah.
And we're going to probably have to do this a couple of times just to get to main points. But yes, now what they're doing is they're wanting to see if they can get non-citizens to vote.
Yep. Yeah.
And
constitutionally, that's wrong.
You're right. And they're doing it in a way that says you're taking away the opportunity for people to vote.
Yep.
It's very easy to get an ID. It's very easy to go get your license if you're going to be driving or not driving. You get an ID there. If you're an American citizen, it's very easy to go and do that.
Right.
So it's about a ploy to try to get a lot of people into this nation to vote who are not citizens. That's just wrong.
Right.
That's not what the ACLU should be doing. Shouldn't be a part of. Matter of fact, they should be fighting that.
Yes.
They should be fighting that. But I also understand that on the other side of it, the Heritage Foundation basically says that's how we want to have the voting laws.
Right.
They want to have voting laws that say you have to have an ID. Across the nation. And honestly, as a conservative, I like that.
Well, I think everybody, whether you're conservative or liberal, you should like that. Here's the thing. It's very easy. You have to, you have to have a birth certificate.
Yep.
And if you don't have a birth certificate, you can get a certified copy.
Yes.
And so you have a birth certificate, you have proof of residency, and you take that to the DMV, you present everything there, and you get what's called a real ID, whether it's an ID or a driver's license, and that's it. You're done. Now you're registered to vote. You're a citizen. You've shown that you're a citizen. You vote.
And voting is so important. The ACLU knows this, that it's so important that we have citizens voting. In our church, our little church in the middle of Odessa, Florida, you cannot vote on our budget unless you're a member of the church.
Well, it's any organization that way.
And it's sad.
Yep.
So the Heritage Foundation is real big on this, and they are just going, no state should have, all states should have this as their law. That's their hope, right? But the states all make their own decisions.
Right. They make their own decisions.
So they right now, their wish list is to get everyone to do that. So I can see how that would get some people upset, especially if they're trying to get people who are not citizens to vote.
Right.
I can see why they get upset about that.
And if you look at any of the news media and stuff like that around there, when you talk about, well, this group of our society cannot get proper ID, and this, and some of the things that have been said, it's disgusting.
Well, it's insulting.
Yes, insulting.
It's insulting. Okay, so Project 2025 is this a group from the Heritage Foundation. Now they at least the Harris Waltz group, they say that at the end of each one of their statements, which we talked about last week, and honestly, I got a little riled up, and I'm sorry about that if my voice was carrying, and I don't need to do that. But each statement, they said, according to Trump's
2025,
Trump's 2020 Project 2025.
Yep.
And he says he's not a part of it. Well, we could say we know that he's not off of one thing that we disagree with him on.
Right.
Okay. So President Trump, we're both people who believe that abortion should never be supported financially by any tax people at all.
At all.
No taxes.
No tax dollars.
If you believe in it, you go donate it just like you donate to a church or to a Oasis Crisis Pregnancy Center, which we do. Yes. And we have our own individual people do that. Yep. But we also believe that every life is important. God created all life.
In his image.
In his image.
Yep.
So that baby that's in the womb is not just a fetus. That is a human being created in the image of God.
Yep.
Okay? That means that person is important. The mother is vitally important, created in the image of God. The father is created in the image of God. Now, President Trump is all for exceptions, you know, which, by the way, Project 2025 is not.
Right.
It's fully, we do not want, our wish list is to see no abortions in the United States. None. That you could not, produce pills that would kill a baby off. That's their wish.
Right.
That's their wish. And honestly, as a pastor of a church, that's mine. You can hate me if you want. I don't know why you would. I'm telling you the truth about God's word and what we need to do. And someone's going to say, what about someone who's been, raped incest, or whatever stuff? I hear you, but every life is important. Well, what about your daughters? If that happened to your daughters, I'd still have my daughters. We're having this baby. So that's where I'm at. And that's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay. You're going to disagree with me. My wife will be in the same boat. My wife was a single mom, had to make a decision to keep a baby when she found out she was pregnant, and she could have said no, and her family wanted the baby done. It altered her life, I believe, for the best, and she will say that. And she made the decision to keep that life. And she was not like an evangelical Christian
at the time.
Not at all. And she had accepted Christ right around that time and made that right after she was pregnant, probably a couple of months, not even a couple of months, a month into it. And she went to the doctor to find out what she should do. And the doctor said, pray about it. And she went, maybe I should do that. And as she started reading the Bible, she saw that this baby is valuable in God's eye. Yes, it's going to change my life, but maybe for the better. Or maybe for a different way of doing things. And I get that you get ladies that get really upset about this kind of talking. Well, just talk to my wife. If you want a conversation, you talk to Tanya. Don't listen to this guy. Listen to my wife, who had to make those decisions and did. And did that twice, by the way, before we were married. And I honor her because of her decisions to do that. So the Heritage Foundation's way over there, okay, where I would be. Where I would be, and I'm okay with that. ACLU is way over to
the other side.
The other side that says we want all abortions and want them done, and want them done all the way up. Right? So Trump has gotten some of people like me upset because he says he's for exceptions. He would like to have abortion up to 14 weeks. I don't agree with that. Matter of fact, the Heritage Foundation doesn't agree with it. And Project 2025 doesn't agree with him.
Right.
But he doesn't care. He's going to do what he feels is best.
That's his moral value. That's his
where
compass.
He stands.
Right
there, that's where he stands. He doesn't want to have abortions up to, birth or 7 months or 8 months. And he really would like to have no abortions. Obviously, he's even said that. But he'll do the exceptions, which got a lot of people in my world upset. Some of them even said, I'm not even going to vote for him. I went, oh, come on, guys.
Well, when you look at the other side of it.
You're gonna let these people run amok? Like having the ACLU fight for abortions all the way up to birth? Come on. We don't want to do that. Now, again, I don't want to sound harsh. I want to be able to say that Trump has nothing to do with this. There are things that I don't agree with him on, and I'm over more with Project 2025. On certain things. Some other things we'll talk to that I'm not. Okay, so that was one. They said that the ACLU said that they will severely limit abortion access nationwide by reversing the FDA's approval of this drug that drug that used for abortions, and say a ban to abortion medications, equipment, materials from being sent in the United States Postal Service. Yes, that's what their dream is.
Right.
Okay, so for us. Sam, what do you think about taxpayer money going towards abortion?
Well, first off, it's government interference, and people say that what's the worn out phrase? My body, my choice.
Well, not only that, go ahead.
And so, okay, Your body, your choice.
You pay for
Keep
it.
the government out of it.
Yeah.
You pay for it.
You
right?
pay for it.
You know, if I decide.
What about a person that doesn't have much money? Well, that's why the Planned Parenthood is in your community.
Right. But it should
be
be
set up to kill people in the minorities. That's what Sanger set up.
That's what the person who founded that.
Yes.
And fact check us on this, folks.
It's totally true.
Who set up Planned Parenthood and the whole reasoning behind her? And she was
honest about it.
And she was a racist.
Yes. But she was honest about it.
She was honest about it. Yes. And so my feeling, and it doesn't matter what position you're in or whatever, is no government funding for it.
No.
So if Planned Parenthood exists,
it needs to be done by donation.
It needs to be done by donation, just like Oasis Pregnancy Center.
Yes.
And they're surviving fine.
And let people who agree with that pay for it to help people who they think they're helping to have abortions if they can't afford it.
Right.
And that's really where I'm coming from. I'm coming from a biblical point of view that every life is important.
Right.
But then on a financial point of view, you and I are saying that that's one thing that we could reduce off the budget.
Right.
Get that out of there.
Get that out of there.
Let people privately fund it. And I think that'd be great. Go ahead and do it. I will fight you and say that this is wrong, and I'll be praying for you. And when I say fight, I'm not talking about physical fighting, but we can let's have a discussion. And let's be able to have freedom of speech that the ACLU says that they are supporting.
They're not
but
anymore.
They're not anymore.
Not anymore.
And so that was one. The other one was that the ACLU says this does. Let me get to it through here. Oh, they did say that severely limiting voting access. So we already talked about that. They're basically wanting to have people who don't have IDs to vote.
Right. They're talking, you come in off the streets, doesn't matter who you are, you should be allowed to vote. That is unconstitutional.
And Project 2025 says, no, we don't agree
with that. And the American
that.
Civil Liberties Union should be defending you and me on that. Not defending
people who are not citizens here.
They're not citizens. Yes.
That's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
Another one they said is that rolling back trans rights, which is, they said that Project 2025 does that. Weaponizing federal law to require states and private actors to discriminate against transgender people by threatening to sue schools to protect the rights of trans students, or telling hospitals that they would lose their Medicaid funding if they provide gender-affirming medical care to trans adolescents. You can see lawyers wrote this.
Yes.
So what they're saying is that we want to have the rights in the schools for trans males and females to come in and, read stuff to them and show them how to, how a trans thing goes as far as it's crazy what they've done in New York.
Right.
But what they've also done, and the big one that I'm concerned about, is that adolescents can get this, what they say, gender-affirming medical care to trans adolescents without the parents knowing.
Right.
So now we're talking about the two worldviews.
Yes.
Now, Project 2025 is totally saying we want this out of the schools. We do not want this in the schools, and we want parents to have the rights.
Yes. So
the idea here is that a child comes and says, I feel like I'm now a male and I'm a female, and goes to a teacher. The teacher in the school can go get the meds for them, do all this stuff for them, and say that's good for you without telling the parents.
That's wrong.
And that's really socialist mindset. Now let's go back to this. Go back to what a socialist mindset is when it comes to this.
Well, the state has complete control over your child from the time it is born until it dies.
Yeah.
Okay. It has control over you from the time you're born so it's total state control, and it doesn't matter what's going on in the classroom. You have no right to take a look at what's going on in the classroom.
And there's the problem. The ACLU should not be. Where are you guys? I mean, what's happening here that you're not fighting for the rights of the parents? And I mean, it makes no sense. You've lost your way. But the problem is they lost their way because they've gone to a high socialist mindset. And, they own it. You could see when you read on it, they own that they're way over here. And we're going to fight for this. But they've lost their way when it comes to fighting for the rights of people according to our Constitution.
Right. And
makes no sense.
Look, we've raised children.
Yes.
We have grandchildren.
Yes.
Okay. Any of the boys ever play with dolls? Pick up a doll?
Actually, my wife bought Barbie dolls for him every Christmas as a joke, and they would get mad about it. But
but here's the thing. just because they picked up a doll doesn't mean a thing.
No.
And you can talk to folks all over the place. It doesn't make sense to take a young person, an adolescent, and say, oh, he likes to play with dolls. He must be a girl.
Or he feels like it at that moment. Because emotions can change.
Yeah.
And so the whole idea here, and what Project 2025 is saying, is give the parents the right to say no to this.
Yeah.
And that child, when they're an adult, can make a decision. My daughters, they would say, I wanted tattoos.
Yeah.
I said, when you're out of my house and you're an adult and you could pay for it yourself, go get your tattoo. And they both did.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have any tattoos on me. I don't consider it evil or anything, but that's what they did.
Right.
But
that was their choice as an adult.
Yes, it's their choice as an adult. If I did that for them when they were a kid and then they came back, why'd you have me do this when I don't want it now?
Right.
We just had a guy in our church show up here and said, I'm getting rid of tattoos that I put in when I was young. Yeah. And I had to start laughing. I went, man, that's going to be painful. He goes, yeah, it is.
Yep.
But he goes, I wasn't really thinking back then.
Well, and my son, and he was the same situation.
And I know tattoos and this doesn't coincide.
And
but
as soon as he was in a position to be able to make that decision on his own, living on his own, stuff like that, he got a tattoo. And I don't know, I talked to him, it's been quite a few years ago now, so he was late teens, adult age. And he shakes his head. I'm still not sure why I did that. And so, but it's there.
Well, and guys that go off in the military, they do it and then they realize, why did I do that? Well, I mean, we make dumb mistakes. That's what we do as human beings. But in this case, parents need to have the right. So, of course, we're going to be more towards Project 2025. And the Trump campaign is more towards Project 2025.
That's family values.
That's a family value thing, a more biblical worldview on that. And I'm not saying that President Trump is some biblical worldview, guy. And I'm not saying that Kamala Harris is either.
Right.
They're politicians. Their values are not tied to a biblical worldview for the most part.
Right.
I know that some people want to do that with President Trump, but I know he has his decision towards Christ has been different. I know that he's had different views. Matter of fact, his view towards abortion has changed. He was all the way to the left point of view at one time. Long ago. And then when he changed that, people got mad at him that were on the left with him, which include Oprah Winfrey and others that loved to have him on their show until he made those decisions. And that happens to conservatives.
And he saw the way the country was going, stuff like that. So we've only touched on 2 points or 3 points?
And there's so many.
So we truly want to get into the differences here without overbearing you and stuff like that. We would appreciate your feedback. If you have any questions or specific areas of either...
We're going to talk about the deportation stuff and all those different things that Project 2025 says is what we want. And we're going to look at what the ACLU stands for and what they're saying about Project 2025, which some of the stuff they may be true on. They're true on it. I mean, they said they're trying to take, they want the rights for the adolescent over the parent. And that's what the ACLU wants, right? And so Project 2025 doesn't want that. Now, in the election, you have Kamala Harris, who is totally with the ACLU.
Socialist.
And Trump in that area is with Project 2025. Right. On abortion, the ACLU is with the Harris side of things, more on that socialist end of thing. The government is in charge.
Control. Yep.
And over here, Trump doesn't sit with the Project 2025 people, or he doesn't really sit with us. Yeah. He's kind of in that middle. Yeah. He doesn't want abortions. He doesn't want to see a ton of them. It's awful, he says. He doesn't want to see any of them going beyond the 14 weeks. Right. I just disagree with that, with where he stands on that, and that's okay. Right. But on a biblical side of it, every life is important. Right. So these abortions, we want to get rid of them. Right. Right. If I'm taking a biblical worldview. Right. And understand one thing, that a lie that's coming out between all of this is that folks are saying that Trump is for a national ban on abortion. And he has never said that. He has never said that. And we shouldn't even have to defend that. No. He for one, he can't do that. But what he's done is put it to the states. Yeah. So now it's with the states. The states make the decisions. Yeah. And honestly, they're even more liberal, some of them, than what we were with Roe versus Wade. Yeah. But then there's other states that aren't. Yeah. And that's okay. Yeah. Make your decisions of where you're going to let the people who live there make those decisions rather than somebody way up here who's saying, I'm now imposing this on everyone.
Well,
because honestly, you could do two extremes.
Yes.
You can do the extreme that no abortion should ever take place, and anybody who has an abortion should go to jail, right? Because it looks like murder. Okay?
Yeah.
And I get that. I understand that. And then you have the other side that doesn't look at it as murder at all, and they look at it as the right of the mom that can terminate a fetus or terminate a blob of flesh all the way up.
Yeah.
And so there's these extremes that are here, and you and I are saying, let's just not have any money going to abortion at all. And Project 2025 wants to put money towards people who are doing adoptions. No, none of that. We got to reduce this budget and let the people who believe in these things, like the church and the people who are Christians, put money towards adoptions and towards clinics that help people have babies and help them become reasonable parents. And let the people who believe in abortion and have abortion on demand have that privately funded.
Yes.
And be done with it.
Be done with it. Yeah.
Then we don't have to have this argument anymore.
Take the government out.
Take the government out and let's have a battle of ideas. Because I believe if we have the battle of ideas, we win.
Yes.
Because it's about the heart. And it's about, do we believe God exists? And is our root the Bible or not?
Yes.
And then we can go there.
Yep.
And I'm not talking about winning by destroying somebody.
No.
It's about winning people away from a view of death and bring them to a view of life through love and compassion and I think intelligence and reason. And if they decide to have an abortion, that's on them.
Yeah.
They make that decision, but no government funding. So we didn't agree with either one of them on both that side.
Exactly. So if you have questions or you have topics in the Heritage Foundation's Project 2025, or some of the things that the ACLU is saying are in there, feel free to reach out to us. Make sure that you like, share, and comment on the podcast. And
they should go to the websites
of both of them,
of the ACLU and to Project 2025. So you could see where the leaning is way on both sides. And I just don't want either side to say that they're angels and they are not partisan. They both are partisan. They just are not in the partisan means they're in the. They're saying I'm Democrat and I'm Republican.
Right.
That's not what they're saying.
Right.
We're conservative and we're socialist. I mean, that's what they're saying.
That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
So once again, thanks for listening. This has been David Towner, Sam McKeown. Today is our favorite day.
It is. Thank you, Lord. You're in charge.
See you later.
Thank you for listening to TIMFD. Today is my favorite day. Views, comments, and opinions are those of the host and guest alone, and Dave and Sam are solely responsible for the content of this podcast. TIMFD is produced and directed by Alex Korn. Music is composed and performed by Chuck Falk. Thank you for listening. Have a great day, live intentionally, and be very blessed.